Okay, let's start. My name is Ron Rosenthal. I'm joined with Frederic. Maybe Frederic, you can introduce yourself? You're muted.
Yeah, right. I was looking for the button to unmute myself. Yeah. Hi, Sanjay. My name is Frederic Pettit, and I'm the CTO of a new company called Context 22. And I've been in touch with Alon for many years when he was doing some other. I mean, probably it was announcing what he's got now, all right? So, and I was quite impressed, but after that I moved to professional services for Guardium. And so now my company is really focused on applying data science and analytics to DAM, right, and DAM security, right? This is really the focus, and for that we need good quality of data, right? We cannot have data we cannot rely on and we cannot count on, right? And we had pretty good quality of data with the agents on DAM on-prem. And in a sense, not perfect, but still we could do something, right? This has fallen apart with the cloud, right? And now we are back to using native logging, just like on-prem before we had the agents, right? And this is really a major problem, because those native logs are not of very good quality and they are totally heterogeneous, right? So from one database to another, it doesn't look the same, right? And what you can do some stuff with one and you cannot do with the next one. So, and agents on-prem fix this issue by basically consolidating all the logs, or by capturing the traffic and putting in a standard and unique format, right? So now the question can we do that with the cloud? And this is what we've been interested with SecuPy, because SecuPy is basically the answer to that. And we are really looking forward to using the data collected by SecuPy to feed our environment. And the last thing, if I may, it's I suggested this question and theme about multi-cloud, mostly because we are doing some development right now and we are facing these issues of multi-cloud. So what cloud should we support? And there is a bunch, right? So what cloud should we put our system on? And therefore the multi-cloud issue is really to us it's a serious one. And when I look at my experience in IT, I think I cannot imagine large companies not being multi-cloud, right? So I can't imagine that. So sometimes it can be a kind of wild or rogue multi-cloud, right? I work for a company that outsourced most of its IT, right? And it was quite terrible. And the business unit reacted by building their own IT, which we call, it's called shadow IT. And I don't see why companies are not going to, may not be facing these kind of issues. So now if they go out of the regular IT and start developing shadow IT, they're going to have to comply with regulation and provide security. they cannot expose companies, right, with a rogue IT and rogue deployment. They cannot expose companies to breach and leaks and so forth, right? If your company has 2 or 3 cloud and this shadow IT goes with a fourth one, what are you going to do? So it's really a serious, and we think it's why we are interested in Secupy, because Secupy kind of consolidates that, right? You won't have to develop a new IT or cyber security. You take Secupy, and therefore for us it's pretty good, because it's getting transparent, right? Then this is a little bit what why we are interested in Secupy, right? It's because it's gonna give us the quality of data we need for really good cybersecurity. In addition to that, I don't want to speak for Alon, but it's got other features, right? But really, it's the native logging, auditing on database is no good, right? It's really a setback as compared to what we had so far, and given the security requirements growing, right, it's really a little disaster.
Thank you. And as for myself, my name is Ron Rosenthal. I'm a founder and CEO of Secupy. Like Fredrik, I've been doing data security for the last for many years. And in those years, I was always creating both products and solutions in this area of data security, which now Gartner has finally coined into the data security platform, DSP. And one of the reasons that we founded Secupy was because we saw the fragmented nature of the market. Of course, here we are very much focused on DAM, or next-gen DAM. But when you take a step back, and all of us here in the webinar are taking responsibility to protect data, right? We need to provide an overarching platform that will not only look at the privileged users connecting through their DirectDB tools to Oracle on-prem or DB2 or Snowflake and Redshift and RDS, but also will take a broader responsibility about the life cycle of the data through the means of fine-grained access controls, through the ability to apply masking, dynamic masking, static masking, and even encryption and tokenization. We believe that the days where you need to buy one tool for DAM, one tool for access control, one tool for masking, one tool for encryption, right, these are long gone. Customers are expecting, right, you are expecting a single platform to be able to provide all of those different dimensions of data security. And hence, we've been fortunate to get also Gartner to embrace this insight that we have been preaching for the last 7 years, and have coined this term called data security platform. And within the data security platform, we have all of those elements that we talked about. But of course, the focus of the webinar is primarily around the database activity monitoring, one of the major elements of the data security platform. And here, as we have taken more of an innovative approach into that, 2 elements stand out. The first one is today, the legacy DAM solutions, and they are ill-equipped to really protect the data, especially when we are taking those logs from our 1,000 Postgres database servers. When I'm taking our logs from DynamoDB and MongoDB and SQL and no-SQL stores in the cloud, right? First and foremost, we need to protect the data. That's why we are here. And that's why one of the major capabilities that we think are eminent for this next-gen DAM is the ability to dynamically mask, to protect the data as it's being accessed by the DevOps, by the developers, by the production admins, by the cloud administrators themselves. Today, in the cloud, as borders are not there anymore, right? The borderless cloud requires a more fine-grained controls on data. So not only looking at the rear mirror at who logged into this database and what actions he performed a few hours ago, we want to be much more proactive and restrict access to address the new privacy, sovereignty, compliance regulations that are imminent. The second element that Pradeep mentioned is around the platform support. And to do that, to embrace the entire cloud platforms, right, that are spawning all the time, right? 3 years ago, who have even thought about Snowflake, right, or Databricks, Presto, Denodo, Trino, right? Different ELK, massively embraced, caching data stores, right? Ever more. So how can we embrace the richness of the cloud while still providing the requirements of them? And the way that we believe this needs to be addressed is by providing different options, different deployment options to do that. Right? We always have this centralized management server, this management server that can be deployed either using a Kubernetes cluster through the CI/CD process, supporting EKS, AKS, JKE, right? Each cloud, each major customer would embrace their own CI/CD requirements so that the installation and configuration and maintenance of the management server with all the cloud platforms there, right? We have under the hood, we have Kafka, we have different scalable platforms, technologies within the management server to provide linear scalability. But there we will poll relevant attributes such as attributes coming from Okta and Ping and Azure AD, right? As well as data attributes from multiple sources. And those we will be connecting through policies such as a DevOps is not allowed to see certain salary information of European employees. Right? This can be a nice policy to apply, or more generic policies such as everybody outside of the EU should not be able to see EU PII information of European customers and European vendors and European employees, right? Just to adhere to the solvency requirements of GDPR, DORA, and Schrems 2. So combining that together and then pushing it down to different enforcers. So compared with the approach of the legacy DAM, which are cloning those endless logs of the RDSs and the Snowflakes and etc., and trying to crunch them into some valuable meaning, we believe that a more proactive approach needs to be taken through different type of enforcers. And enforcers, as we are addressing the Fortune 500s, they have preference, they have specific requirements on which type of enforcer they want to apply, and that's why we provide options. For example, both an agent option or a transparent gateway option, right? So I can choose whether I want to apply maybe on my VDI, a plugin on my DirectDB tool, or use a DirectDB web interface, or maybe I just want to route everybody through my transparent gateway into Snowflake and Postgres and MongoDB, right? That's why we provide also deployment options, very important for large cloud deployment at scale. So those are the main two themes that we believe are part of the next-gen DAM, right? Protecting the data in real time, but then also providing different ways to embrace the entire richness of the cloud platforms. On top of that, as we need to be reactive, we need also a real-time user behavior analytics, right? Not looking at the rear mirror of things that happened 3-4 hours ago, but proactively identifying abnormal behavior in real time, tagging, classifying those actions continuously so we can also act upon that. An interesting viewpoint has been recently taken by the definition of zero trust. We're talking here about data, and for all of us, protecting data is core into our DNA. But usually the CISOs are really fixated around network security, around endpoint security. And something that I wanted to share with the audience is also that the CISOs are also extending their viewpoint into data. And this is the result of a long study by the National Security Agency, by the NSA and the Department of Defense, released recently, talking about the zero trust architectures that needs to be embraced by large organizations. In the past, they were very network-centric, micro-segmentation, firewalls, malware detection devices, etc. But they need to become data-centric, with data tagging, with dynamic data masking, with attribute-based access control, and even with encryption. And so even from the zero trust perspective, that all of us are aware of, as we're part of the CISO, they are also taking a turn into the data-centric, into this data security platform perspective, which DAM is a main pillar. Now, taking that into one view, so our perspective of the next generation DAM starts with this real-time monitoring, protecting in real time all access to sensitive data by privileged users, developers, DevOps, cloud admin, etc. But there, on top of that, applying this fine-grained access control, or as we call it, attribute-based access control. The reason it's attribute-based access control because we might want to take different attributes to decide whether this DevOps is allowed to see this table or access this schema or even log into this database. Attributes such as location, device, citizenship, right? We can also turn that into an attribute of consent. As the customer given its consent to be accessed by certain personas. This is, of course, required for CIPA, for certain type of privacy regulations, GDPR, LGPD, and others, which are starting to talk also about the consent that our customers, the people who own their data, should give us for certain actions. And this is another type of an attribute that we want to take into consideration, where we are also layering on top of the legacy DAM functionality of the monitoring. We want to layer now fine-grained access control. And hence, this attribute-based access control, it takes multiple attributes into consideration. On top of that, we believe that a third layer needs to be taken with adding single sign-on MFA to the DirectDB tools, talking about also database password vault for zero-stranding privileges. What does it mean? It means that nobody needs to know your database passwords, not even your DBA. When DBA logs into a database, like I will show you now in a quick demonstration, and this is a DirectDB tool commonly used by large organizations, but it can also be SQL Plus and Toad and SQL Developer. When any one of the DirectDB tools that you are deploying in your organization, when people are logging into those, your DBA or developer is logging into production, he just needs to specify the username. That's it. You see that only the username is specified. Once he clicks on the OK button, SecuPy with our technology, with our enforcer, is automatically popping in a single sign-on. Right? There's no single sign-on in SQL Plus. But SecuPy plugin on the SQL Plus or using our gateway is allowing this single sign-on MFA accessibility to the DirectDB tools, as well as logging in without knowing the production database. The production database password is in a secret store, in HashiCorp or in CyberArk. Right? We will also be pulling the password from the production database password vault, and only then allowing access to this production database, again, if and only authorized, if there's a valid ticket. Once access is given, of course, we add the additional layer of protection with this ability to apply dynamic masking, filtering, this attribute-based access control on top of that. So hence our approach of this multi-layer protection on top of the basic notion of the legacy DAM. The next-gen DAM includes all of those facets, from the fine-grained access control here, where we are applying dynamic masking to all employee schema, right, or table, or database. On top of that, the passwordless. On top of that, the real-time monitoring and the protection. So all of those features and functions we believe are now eminent to provide the required data protection of our cloud environments. Some ideas also about the identification features that needs to be taken into consideration. And here are a few examples, whether they include, for example, rounding and bucketing, right? We might want to round or bucket some data elements like age or birth date. If we are allowing access by DBA or developer access to the data, we might want to anonymize the data. Dynamic masking, as I've shown you, Xing out partial or full of the field, as well as zeroing, nullifying, replacing, and even obfuscating names into fictitious list of names. On top of that, we have the form of preserved encryption tokenization that we can take in use, and all of them are coming out of the box with a secure deployment, where we can take, for example, an email and do partial encryption, just encrypting, the domain, but not the actual first name in the email. Right? So doing that also, in a sense, restricting the encryption to be partial, to keep some validation, but still de-identify the data completely. All of these are part of the capabilities that we believe needs to take in this next generation DAM that we offer. Fredrik, any comments? What's your take as we talk about, right, the cloud platforms and all of those? Any comments?
No, just, I mean, the richness of your product, right, is way more aligned than what the on-prem agent were offering, right? And today, the need of higher security is major, right? And because there are some companies that think they can just comply with regulations, right? So they need a check mark. Okay, so it's I'm not going to blame them, because one of the issue with these requirements they've got to comply with, so it may cost them a lot, right, in terms of management and in terms of but still they need to go beyond this stage, right? And they need to invest, right? I think we've got a solution here to make the auditing more kind of possible, right? I mean, less, but it's also quite important to free up resources to do this kind of thing, right? Secupy is doing. So if your company is totally swamped, right, and overloaded just by the check mark for regulation, so it's really a big issue, right? So when we see this richness of such a product, right, and the quality of the data you can expect from these, so it really opens the door to actual cybersecurity, because check mark and passing an audit is good, because if there is a breach, you may be fined, but less, right? Because you have done the minimum and what is required for not being considered as reckless. Okay, but still you've got the breach, right? So now how do you really focus and do something to prevent the breach, right? And you have no guarantee that you will be able to do it all the time, right? So if you are not looking for really a cybersecurity program, and this is what makes it possible, right? So you are taking some risks. So I suggested for this webinar to the multi-cloud, but the multi-cloud, it's I worked in a company where there was a shadow IT. So they went to a totally different provider, right? Because they were not happy with IT, right? And as a result, they could have escaped totally. So kind of umbrella or canopy of security offered by IT, and therefore putting the company at risk, right? So it's really a big issue of going beyond the check mark. So it's important, it's very crucial to pass the audits. So there is no question. But you cannot be prevented, right, because of that, or the way you do it, from doing stuff like Secupy or we do, right? Which is really actual cyber security. And cyber security is really something, it's open, right? You don't know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Constantly you need to you cannot just follow some requirements or some procedure. You need constantly to get a sense of what's going on, what's the threat you are facing, right? The risk you are taking, right? And you need to allocate your resources also where it's important. Yeah, because I work for companies, they will say, oh, everything is important. Yeah, except that. Why should I spend time protecting a select count? Right? A select count, the guy just can't. Maybe it's but it's not extraction of data. If I spent my time on a select count instead of an actual extraction, so we cannot have this kind of blanket approach, right? And for not having a blanket approach, you need good login and good monitoring, right? So, and this is what, I mean, for us, it's really the input we need. What Secupy provides, it's really the input we need to have a kind of a multi-directional, I mean, very broad and approach of cybersecurity. We cannot just be focusing on this. We need constantly to look at what's going on and what's going and be on the lookout, right? Lookout and capture and those new threats that are going to come constantly, right? So it's been sometimes I've been impressed by Secupy, but this is really here it goes way beyond the passing the audit, and there is a good reason, right? And this is really what companies should consider, because if you've got a shadow IT developing with Secupy, you can approach that business unit in terms of we're going to help you and not we are going to prevent you, because this is a problem. Why shadow IT develops? It's because they don't trust us, right? So because they see we're going to constrain them and we are the no people, right? Sometimes we have to say no, right? But we need to we are here to make their stuff secure, right? And not changing their stuff. And this approach by Secupy, to me anyway, looks like this is it gives you that ability, right? So whatever cloud you are on, it's consolidated.
Yeah. The things that we are hearing, right, is really the as Fadik mentioned, right, the ability to scale, the ability to parse, right, to process, the ever-growing cloud and cross-cloud loads into the legacy dam simply breaks at a certain time and point. I just looking at we have one of the customers that moved from a legacy dam to us. They had 1,000 Postgres RDS. The amount of logs that Postgres, any Postgres database as a SaaS generates, it's like it's amazing. The logging, the native logs of taking, for example, Postgres. Now, as it is a Postgres in cloud, it is running as a cluster. There are so many transactions, so much noise that is added to the native logs. Like it's like 50 times more than you would have in an on-prem database. Because in the cloud, everything is clustered, everything is master slave. Transactions need to be replicated among all the different slaves of your Postgres cluster. And it creates such a huge load just to pull those logs, to crunch them, to identify, like even the select count, right? Just to take the select count from the sensitive tables that you need to find is already a huge task, and a huge amount of resources are required to do that. While even over beyond that, identifying that this is just a select count, and why should we even put attention on that? But if it's select star from our customer table, right, this is something we need to alert upon and even apply some policies, right? And a few of the examples of the policies that we do, we talked about the masking, we talked about filtering, limiting access to not more than 10 rows of customer data in selected fields, providing automatic alerts when an abnormal amount of access, and the alert are triggered, right, as we have those enforcers that are in between the privileged users and those 1,000 RDSs, and we are able even to act immediately and remediate any type of abnormal behavior, as well as do this zero trust protection of the crown jewels, which is basically that's why we are here. So that's a summary of what did we wanted to share with you in this webinar. If you have any questions, please post them into the Q&A or in the chat. We're here to answer if you have any specific questions. In the meantime, let me give you a bit more context. So for Secupy, as I mentioned, we founded Secupy 7 years ago. We are serving over 100 Global 2000 customers, most notable brands that you can think of, two of the largest top 10 banks in the US, UBS, Credit Suisse in Switzerland, Vodafone, Swisscom, the US Department of Defense. Many notable customers have deployed Secupy to protect their data, both on-prem and cloud. Right? The Secupy platform support reaches from even DB2 mainframe to, of course, all the cloud SaaS, native cloud applications running on cloud, with the ability to install Secupy itself on-prem or in the cloud. As we are serving Fortune 500s, of course, they're reluctant to move their audit data to SaaS, and hence why we provide also an on-prem version of Secupy and a customer VPC version of Secupy Management Server, supporting all Kubernetes cluster options, JKE, AKS, EKS, etc. Fadik, last words do you want to say before we finish the webinar?
No, I mean, it's no, it obviously, I mean, it's clear that you have a great product, and it really shows the direction company needs to go to, right? And I'm saying that because I've been in IT, right? I know and today I think we are facing a little bit there's some hurdles within the industry. The customer have some trouble getting and going beyond the passing the audit, right? And this is concerning because they are not really able to protect, right? So it's and something like Secupy offers a level of quality of monitoring, right? Which is needed for today's environment and risk environment, right? Yeah, we like we are not competitor, right? It's more output of Secupy we take as input, right? But yeah, now we can do cybersecurity as we need in this 21st century, year 20s, right? It's really, we need to get out of the legacy stuff because I mean, going back to native log, it's really going back because it was a solution that was discarded long time ago by the agents, right? And replaced by the agents, right? And now we are taking this solution in the cloud. I mean, it's a 30 years old technology, which is totally beyond, I mean, far away from the needs, right? What Alan says, it's a new generation. You need a new generation of agents. Yeah, absolutely. It's really crucial.
Yes. So there was a question regarding, okay, how can we support both on-prem and cloud? What are the options? So we're talking about 4 different deployment options. We either allow you to deploy Secupy using an agent-based enforcer. Think of it like a plugin that we put on the VDIs. And alternatively, we provide unspanned gateways. We also provide the ability to do it using an agentless option on the native data store. And also when you want to apply encryption, tokenization, all of those heavy lifting technologies, the identification technologies, we also even provide web service, SDKs, UDFs, command line interfaces. So we provide those different options in order to be able to serve those large deployments. And please reach out to us for specific type of databases. But these options are available. From a management server, you're agnostic. If you want to use the plugin on your VDI or on CyberArk PSM, or use a transparent gateway, right? From a maintenance perspective, from the features, functions, they're completely agnostic. Whatever option you choose, all the functions are available for you, from the monitoring, the ABAC, database business control, as well as the password vault and the hashing of the credentials. So that's a quick answer. We have a very broad platform support that you can already see in our website, in secupy.com/coverage. And please reach out to us and we'll help you. We'll do a session to tell you what are the different options that might best suit to your specific needs. So thank you very much for participating in this webinar, and look forward to talking with each and every one of you. Pradeep, thank you very much for being here. And
yeah, you're welcome.
See you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.